Today I'm going to be cooking a mushroom pasta for you, a wild mushroom pasta. We have black trumpet mushrooms, we have hedgehog mushrooms, lobster mushrooms, and a little bit of chanterelles that we found. What we're going to do is we're going to use a straight size pot because we want to create a lot of sauce. So first off, what I want to do is get the pot hot enough so I can saute the garlic and shallots. And I'm going to use canola oil. Use the canola oil to cook, and then I'm going to use the extra virgin olive oil to finish. So you don't want it too hot that it's going to burn the garlic or the shallots because they're very delicate. They're thinly sliced. I'm going to start off with that. And as soon as you have it in the pot, you want to sweat them out nicely. And as soon as you start getting a dark flavor or color, when you want to add the mushrooms. So I'm going to add the mushrooms by their thickness. So first we have the lobster mushrooms, hedgehogs, chanterelles, and then the trumpets. When I add the mushrooms, I really don't want to cook them for too long. I want to lightly wilt them, okay? And you just want to extract the moisture out of them. Now when you're cleaning the mushrooms, you don't want to run them under water, and you don't want to scrub them too much. You want to take a light damp cloth, wipe them down, take a knife, scrape off the dirt. If you run them under water, you're going to cause them to get really, really damp, and you're not going to be able to get a nice saute on them. You're not going to get the caramelization that you're looking for on the mushrooms and the crispiness on the outside. So I'm going to turn the heat up to get a little bit of a sear, and at this point I'm going to add fresh thyme. I use thyme because thyme and mushrooms are a great combination. When I'm using herbs with mushrooms, thyme is definitely the combination that you want. So I'm sauteing the mushrooms, cooking out the thyme a little bit. And at this point I want to deglaze with Marsala wine. Now I like Marsala wine because it has a touch of sweetness. It adds a little bit of aroma to the pan, but it's not going to overwhelm the flavor of the mushrooms. So what you want to do is you want to take the pan off the flame, hit it with like about a tablespoon or two of wine, get the steam out of the pan before you put it back onto the flame. Okay, from here now we're going to start making the sauce. I'm going to add the mushroom stock. Okay, the mushroom stock, I take all the trims from the mushroom and I steep them in a pot of water with a little bit of mirepoix, carrots, onions, celery. Very simple. So now I'm going to add that. And I'm going to save a little bit for later, for when I toss the pasta in case I need a little bit more liquid. Now I want to bring that up to a simmer, and I want to start to add the thickening agents to the sauce. So first I'm going to do is add some roasted garlic. Roasted garlic, I take fresh garlic cloves that I peeled and I cover them with a little bit of oil. You bring it to a simmer and you lightly brown up the garlic, and then you turn the heat down until the garlic is completely tender, and then I run it through a blender or a KitchenAid so you get a nice fine paste. And then you're left with a nice garlic oil after that you would strain out the extra oil, and that you can save for other cooking. So I'm going to add the garlic paste. At this point you want to make sure you don't have too high of a boil. You want a nice even simmer. Then I'm going to add Romano cheese, grated Romano cheese. Now I like to use Romano cheese as opposed to Parmesan because Romano cheese will blend into the sauce. If you use Parmesan cheese, sometimes you'll find that it'll coagulate into the dish and you'll get some cheesy pieces in there as opposed to the cheese melting into the sauce and making it smooth. I thicken it with butter. You want to just keep moving it around and incorporate the butter. Now you don't want the sauce to be too thick, because once you add the pasta to the sauce, the starches from the pasta are going to thicken up the sauce. So you actually want it a little bit on the thinner side, and then when you're cooking it with the pasta, you can reduce it down a little bit more or add a little bit more cheese to it to thicken it up later once the pasta is in the sauce. When I simmer this sauce, I'm going to reduce it just a little bit. What you're looking for is the butter to be melted, the cheese to be melted, and everything to be smooth into the sauce. Now at this point, I'm going to season it with salt, kosher salt, and you season this to your liking. We have a sauce that's almost coating the spoon, but it's still on the thin side, so that when we add the pasta to it, it's not going to be too thick. So at this point, we can turn the sauce off and we can cook the pasta. It's a fresh tagliatelle that we make in-house. In the pot, if you use fresh pasta, it only takes about 30 seconds to a minute to cook this. Okay, once the pasta is finished, it should be tender to the touch. You should see that there's no dark yellow in the pasta, and it should have a nice yellow color. When I make pasta, I like to use a lot of egg yolks in the pasta to give it a nice yellow color. I'm going to dump it right into the sauce. From here, I'm going to toss it right inside. You want to make sure that the pasta is soaked into the sauce nicely, so that way when you're plating it and you're serving it, as people begin to eat it, the pasta's not clumping together, that it's going to stay nice and loose. And then I want to finish plating the dish with the sauce and the mushrooms. Trying to get all the different types of mushrooms in there, chanterelles, the black trumpets. And then you're going to go and finish with the sauce. You don't need a lot of sauce, but I like to sauce it until you get just a little bit to pool up at the bottom. Now we garnish it and we finish it. Use your favorite olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Just a little bit on the top there. We have a fresh Parmesan Reggiano or another chunk of Romano cheese. Just grate it over the top. And there you have it. Fresh pasta with wild mushrooms.